Hello everyone, it's me again. Just another little video for your learning pleasure. So I did a little video previously about Jamie Harron here, a Glaswegian guy, I believe, who he's flown into, from Stirling, flown into Glasgow, I believe yesterday. He was the guy who was detained in Dubai, is quite the popular phrase to use, where, you go to Dubai, you think everything's like a tourist holiday resort, and then you drink in public, you touch a man's hip, I don't know, you do something else in public, and hey ho, you get arrested, and you find yourself in the slammer for some period of time. Now, thankfully, Jamie's managed to get returned back to the Scotland or UK, and his mum's embracing him there, and he seems quite happy, and his ordeal's over, which is good. Just to give you a background quickly on what happened. So, Jamie had an electrical contract with some sort of company in Afghanistan, of all places in the world, and he was going to Afghanistan via Dubai, and he did a 2-day stopover, presumably to see a friend who was there, because he ended up staying around a friend's house, sleeping on his sofa while all this nonsense was going on. Yeah, so while he was out there, he was in a bar, got a drink, going back to his table, and in transit from bar to table, he touched a local man on the hip to just shoo him out the way as he was going back to his table, and this has caused a controversy, some sort of outrage. This guy reported him to the police. The police have to investigate it because they have a duty to do so, and therefore he gets arrested, and he gets charged with like a public indecency and drinking in the public, something like that. And that's basically what happened to this young man. So it's all over and done and dusted now. But there's two points that I wanna pick up. Is first one is how can the man who's accused you of doing something wrong, like in this case touching a hip, how can he? And it turns out he's dropped the charges. He dropped the charges himself. He just said, you know what? It's not worth my time. I'm not interested. But he dropped the charges, but it can still get prosecuted by the state. So that's one of the things that I want to do, and I want to see in more detail about what the state actually is in terms of its criminal book and its ability to abolish laws and pick which laws it will pursue, regardless of the victim agreeing to it or not, or being party to the case. So here in Jamie's back, he's basically can't believe what happened. It's all a bit of a mess. He's not happy with the legal system over there. So the guy who actually accused him, who was the businessman, was a managing engineering of a firm, Newman and Esser. He later dropped the charges against Jamie, but the prosecutors, these are state, so the state itself has decided to run with this because it's got a duty, and it's going to make sure that obviously this is a deterrent for people who might think about doing things like this, particularly like drinking as well. In these kind of countries, they want to stop people from getting any ideas that they can get drunk in Dubai and go around touching people in bars. So he was given a fine and spent a load of time in prison, and the full thing's just mental like. Yeah, it definitely was. So how can the state pursue something when the guy who is technically the victim doesn't want to pursue it? Doesn't that seem a bit odd? So the guy's given it up, but the state's still pursuing it. This happens all over the place, whether you're in England or in America or wherever. You quite often see that the state don't care. I actually saw this happen in a courtroom between a family, where the family were testifying against family members because the state was bringing them to court based on one of the family members calling the police against another family member. But obviously, in the meantime, before it came to trial, the families all sorted out their problems. But alas, the state still believes it has a case because it was called in to basically prosecute individual family members and using family members to testify against other family members. So it's a massive mess. But it does happen. So this guy in Dubai, he's decided to report this to the police and cause Jamie no end of strife. Then just decides, you know what, this is a bit silly. I'm not going to go through with this. This is something that I was telling Jamie, well, in my previous video, says Jamie should have brought forth the accuser, yeah? When someone accuses you of something, bring them forth into court and have that man speak out in open court in front of all his friends, in front of all his, chummy judiciary buddies and police officers and any family and people, public newspaper, let the world know, because there would have been hopefully some media outlets going to that trial, and have Jamie ask the guy who's the victim, the man who got touched on the hip, so where did it hurt? Where did I touch you? Was there any blood? Was there any broken bones? Are you okay? Make him seem like less of a man and more of a baby on the stand. And I think maybe this is what the guy realised, is that this is it is a frivolous matter. The cops should have known better, and he should have known better by not reporting it to the cops. But because of that, the fact is, Jamie still spent a load of time in prison, detained without passport, in a country that's foreign to him as an alien, which is its own mistake in its own right. So for compensation in relation to that, Jamie by all means has to work out a bill of what it's actually cost him to sit in that prison cell in Dubai at the Sultan or whoever's pleasure, and at the pleasure of one of his subjects, which would be the local man. And there is a debt there. As to what the debt is, who knows? Only Jamie can put that down on paper and swear to it. But by all means, if he thinks there is a charge, if he can get the businessman's name, that is out there on the internet, I'm just not going to put it here, but if he gets the man's name and puts in a claim at county court, if that guy comes through Heathrow at any time in the next forever, then there's a debt there that needs to be answered for. And then Jamie can put the shoe on the other foot, because touching someone on the hip is one thing, having someone arrested and detained in a foreign land for 3.5 months, missing out on job opportunities is another thing. There's still a debt, I'm afraid. As much goodwill as there might be in dropping the charges, you still unfortunately caused the chain of events to happen to your fellow man. So there we are. So anyone know Jamie? Why not forward that on to him? But now let's look at the state as an individual thing. Okay, so where the victim can drop the charge, the state will run with it and try and prosecute it. Now, I came across an interesting article which kind of makes this really clear. I've never heard of these people. Thoughts on liberty, women writing in a free world. The time has come to abolish criminal law. Now, I have no idea on the academic grounds of this article, but it does quite simply separate the two realms of criminal law and tort law. It separates them out. So the legal system in America is redundant. There are two systems of law that do the same thing in different ways. So you've got the criminal law and you've got tort law. And if I just basically give you what the benefit is of criminal law is, you call the police, they arrest a guy, and the state takes control of the prosecution in order to secure a conviction for your benefit and for the benefit of the society as a whole. Okay, now tort is very much you versus someone else. So a tort would be the guy in Dubai just basically issuing a debt to an alien who doesn't live there, so that's why it's impossible to do. But he could basically say, look, you touched me on the hip, we don't do that here. I'm going to take you to court and I require damages of whatever he believes is accurate. $5 grand, $1 million grand, £2, whatever. And then Jamie would have to defend himself one-on-one, and obviously you'd have to present your case. The Arabic man in Dubai would have to present his case. Jamie would present a defence, and if there's a jury or just a judge, however it works out in Dubai, then they would see the merits of the case and they would decide in someone's favour. Now, when you become a criminal, what they do, instead of you being a man on man, is a citizen being a suit against another, with criminal law there is no plaintiff, but the suits are being brought forth by the government. So this is where instead of it being a man on man tort versus man with tort against a man who has a debt, instead of it being one-on-one, it's now state versus man, with the other man now being brought in as a witness. So the problem with this is when you've got man on man, it's very difficult. See the scales, actually it's good thing you've got scales here. When you put one man here and one man here, there's that old law saying where all men are created equal. There's basically your status doesn't weigh on the scales. It's just one man here and one man there. Whether you're the king here and a homeless guy there, it doesn't matter. You're both of the same weight in the eyes of the justice, of the lady justice here. So we've got one man here, we've got one man here. There's no tipping of the scales. So now we need things like witnesses, evidence, motive, body, all kinds of kinds of things we can stack up here to make the scales start to tip down, and this one will obviously rise. But when you've got one man's word against another man's word in a bar, let's say, like we have in here in Dubai with Jamie, it's like, well, yeah, one guy can say, well, he touched me, and Jamie could say, well, I don't remember that. What are you talking about? And then he would have to say, well, I've got 15 witnesses who all saw you touch me on the hip, and it was a grave insult to me and my family and my dynasty, and, you know, you owe me money, buddy. And Jamie would be like, oh, well, okay. Because then, obviously, the scales are tipping with all the witnesses who saw Jamie do that. So that's a simple case of what it would be. So now with the government bringing the case, then the government is sitting here against something, presumably the man. So the man presumably is here, and the government is sitting here, and the weight is equal, and then they bring in the victim, and the victim now pushes the scales down. So it's I'm not particularly happy with how it works. I mean, it's probably for the administration of justice, just to keep things speedy and easy. Fair enough, whatever. But it's obviously it's a system to get the scales tipping in the right way straight away by having the state sit on one side and the man on the other, and then bringing the victim in, which is what they would have done. Because remember, when this Arab man reported it to the state now has a case. The state now believes it can prosecute. And the state, even though the witness has dropped it, you're damn right, the state can create the court and order the victim to come in and be a witness because he's reported it. So even though the man doesn't want to pursue this, please, no, I've dropped this, I don't want to come in. No, you reported it to the state. The state is now ordering you to turn up, and you are ordered to appear as a witness, and you are ordered to give your account of those events. And you can see how that can easily put the shoe on the other foot. Not from Jamie's point of view, but from the state. If you don't cooperate with the state when you've gone to the state to report a crime, then the state can hold you in contempt of court. If you're not, you report. You're doing this to yourself, buddy. You report it to the state, the government, whoever, the authorities, however you would like to put them. Now, if you don't start complying with us, then we're going to hold you in contempt of court. Now, that probably rarely happens because most people would go along and just say what they want to say. Or the state will take a view that because the victim hasn't bothered to prosecute, they may drop it themselves. But as in this case, it can happen where the state just goes steaming on ahead and goes for a court prosecution. But you can see how man on man the scales are even. So you can, and how a government weighs up against whatever they put on the other side. That's how they can try and create this system of law. And yeah, if you want to read this article, by all means, it's up here, thoughtsonliberty.com. The time has come to abolish criminal law. You have a read of it in your own time. So now, how does that all relate down to what I've been looking at with our lovely, lovely, lovely criminal? What is criminal law? And in my criminal law book, it can't really define what criminal law is. It's kind of and I've been over this as well in my videos, it's not easily defined. You know, like if I say, look at a tree, look, what's a car, what's a tree, describe a car. Now, describe a criminal law. Well, it's whatever goes into someone's criminal law book. And, of course, they can pick and choose what goes into that criminal law book. And something that I'm picking up on here is that they can also take out of their criminal law book. They can do something called abolition of certain offences. Now, here is the 1967 Criminal Law Act. There's also the Theft Act. I think that was 1968 or 65. It's one of those. And in that act, the Theft Act, I remember reading that the crime of extortion is abolished. And that's not mean that, oh, thank God no one extorts money from anyone anymore. Thank God that's been abolished. That must mean that it doesn't exist anymore. Not so. It means it's coming out of the book of criminal law that is being used. And it's going back, and it even says this in the Theft Act. It goes back to common law, and it's like, so what does that mean? Yeah, what does that mean? Of course, you have the law, and then you have the legal. Okay, and the legal is taking facets of the law and interpreting them, and defining what they are for their own prosecutions. Now, think of a law book. All right. So when you got a law book, boom. Hang on, that's not a law book. Well, all right, let's pretend it is a law book. When you've got a law book, This is the Argos law book. Now, the Argos is a catalogue, right? Anyone who doesn't know, right? So this is a shop that you'll find in a high street, in a town centre, yeah? But instead of having all the products on display, you go in and you literally just find a book. And then you look through the book and you might see, like here, you might see a toaster, a guitar, a shaver, toys, all kinds of stuff, cameras, and they're all divided into subsections, colour coordinated for ease of reference, okay? So, and it's got so many pages, like millions of pages, because there's loads of products, over 3,000 products. So, the same thing same thing happens with a criminal law book. Okay, so they take in things that they like the guitar might be murder, the toaster might be rape, the shaver might be, I don't know, theft or something, and they might redefine it in certain ways. Saying, yeah, these things exist at common law, but we need to just define certain things a bit more accurately for their time and place in history. So again, if we go back to the bicycle, Mrs. Briggs, who was run over by that cyclist who was going through London town, at speed on a bike with no brakes, he collided with Mrs. Briggs and killed her. Then they had to go back to the 1861 Act, which is a long time ago, to find an item in their catalogue, their law book, that can closely be related to what actually happened and can be pursued in order to get the prosecution. Okay, do you understand how that works? I'm hoping you're kind of seeing, so basically when I go into this shop on a high street and I'm looking for a guitar, I can get a guitar. I go to the page and I look at guitars and I can pick the one I want and I say, yeah, that's the guitar for me. Now, what happens if no one buys guitars? No one does music anymore. We all have electronic music. We don't play instruments anymore. Argos, as a company, as a business, says, why are we storing, buying, stocking, transporting and managing this product when no one is doing it anymore and it's not relevant to our time and place? That was relevant to 60s to 2030s, let's just say. So now it's like the 22nd century and no one plays guitars anymore. Why do we still have this in our catalogue? Well, we can abolish it. That is, we can remove it from our catalogue, destroy it if you will, and return it and take it, just return it to the open market as opposed to being in our specific shop's catalogue. And that's no different with what's happening with abolition of certain crimes. They abolish something, they take it out of the book. Perhaps it doesn't make them any more money. Perhaps it's not cool, hip happening to pursue it anymore. Perhaps it's too complicated. It's just, all kinds of reasons that they don't want to have it in the book anymore. It probably comes down to money. Let's just be crass about this. It comes down to money, and how common it is, and how much legal fees they're going to get out of defending or pursuing these cases. So no more guitars. Chuck it out. So therefore, that's exactly what they're doing with abolition of certain offences. Hang on, how can an offence not be an offence anymore? Let's take the crime of murder, right? So how could murder be abolished? Yeah, of course murder can be abolished as a crime. Let's say 2,000 years in the future, nobody ever kills anyone anymore. It's been 500, 600 years since anyone's ever murdered anyone. They've managed to fix crime. There's no more heat of the moment, premeditated, aggressive thoughts to your fellow man. And so therefore, why have we still got murder in our law book, our criminal law book? Why is it still there? Oh, I don't know, James. It was there from the old days when everyone used to shoot, kill, and murder each other. That's right. We don't need it anymore. It's not. It's in our book. It's taking up space. Let's get rid of it. We never do them anymore, so let's get rid of it. But it doesn't mean that murder's not a crime anymore. Or murder's not against the law. It just means as far as their criminal guidelines are concerned, we're not dealing with that anymore. It's done. Okay? So that's essentially how the state operates through its criminal book as a separate entity, very similar to that of Jamie, where the guy who brought the charges said, no, I've had enough of this nonsense. It really wasn't that much of a big deal. Yet the state can go pursuing it because on behalf of the people and the government, their laws and statutes actually, I don't know if making money is the right way to do, but they have business, they have an interest in doing it as a deterrence, as a perception of doing justice for the people, and to keep the status quo in harmony in a nice, lovely society. But there we go. I hope that kind of clears it up in a way. It's just a little kind of review of Jamie, just to give closure on that, and also looking at the way that how a state government or a state body can pursue a criminal allegation even though the victim has dropped it. Plus, how that ties in with what is defined as a crime by the state, because obviously Jamie was charged with a public indecency and drinking in the public. So these are prescribed in their little law book that they have to follow, because the leader of that nation obviously has set up a government to run it harmoniously and keep things in order so that he remains in power, the people are happy, and everything's tickety-boo. But then it takes the ruler of that nation to step in and say, Jamie, get the hell out of here, you pleb. This has all gone too far. He closes down the state's investigation, and Jamie gets returned back to the UK. Bingo. There we go.